Oh no! Michael Keaton doesn't care about Batgirl. Well, hang on a minute. Yeah, there's truth to that, but there's some adult reasoning here. You got to understand this. So, he was being interviewed about Beetlejuice 2 from GQ, and they brought up the cancellation or scrapping of the Batgirl film that he appeared in as Batman. So, his response was, "Nah, I didn't care one way or another. Big fun, nice check." And he's being silly, you know. And but ultimately, yeah, I think that's more or less certainly for him, you know. And so they said he was rubbing his hands in the universal gesture for money and all of that. But then it adds that, oh, he must have realized that his words would come across as apathetic. Well, yeah, maybe, but he lends to the other opinions on the project for himself. And he responded to this early on. I can't remember if it was an awards show or a premiere for another film or what have you, but he was asked, you know, on the carpet, "Hey, what about the Batgirl movie? It got canceled." And he said, "Well, that's a business decision." And that's it. He just respects it. It's hard reality that you may not like it, but you can understand it and ultimately respect it for the situation that was there. And that's the situation that Warner Brothers put itself in. Zaslav comes in after yet another merger to try to right this ship, which was quite a towering task to take on and may not succeed even now. This is the position to where it was better to take the tax write-off than put the movie out. Now, they talked about, well, it wasn't good enough, and I mean, look, it looked CW level cheapness to it, but I don't know, didn't get to see it. The only real positive I ever heard about it was that Brendan Fraser's performance as the main villain was really good. And he was kind of bummed about it. No one gets to see his performance and that sort of thing. And that was about it. Of course, it's bad for Leslie Grace. You know, her debut as Batgirl doesn't get to happen. And then the two directors, and he talks about them. He says he likes them. They're nice guys. I want them to succeed, and I think they felt very badly, and that made me feel bad. So he's feeling bad for them, you know, and that sort of thing. I believe they attempted to leak the movie. Yeah, you can't do that. Was a bad thing on their part. You know, I can understand you're bummed about your work just disappearing, known only but to God. But it's not your property. You can't do that, and that might have done some damage for them in the long run. That kind of shenanigans, I just would not recommend anything of that nature. But other than that, whatever the situation was. Now, this is decided in advance. Was it really their movie? Because this whole direction, Batgirl, didn't fit in with the ongoing plans, even before it was official that James Gunn would take over. You got to understand that the original push forward was to feminize the DCEU. So Batgirl would replace Batman. Michael Keaton would return as the Bruce Wayne of this universe, but he's much older and basically retired, and he'd be this mentor figure. Superman's nowhere to be found. Supergirl would take his place, and that would have been the Sasha Calle Supergirl. And that was the direction they were going to go. Well, oh, no, not that. So before they found someone to take over the DC operations, what was it? I'm blanking on their names. DeLuca and Abdi, they came in, and they were just going to go, well, let's get Henry Cavill back as Superman and Ben Affleck. So there were outtakes from the Flash movie and all that stuff. Ben Affleck was filming scenes to set up more of his Batman. And then, of course, Henry Cavill was going to be in the end of it. He was in the end of Black Adam and so on and so forth. Well, that direction and maintaining that iteration of the universe, too much money, I suspect. And Zaslav said, yeah, can't do it. You got to scrap all of that and start over with newer and therefore cheaper talent, and try to find ways to shoot DC movies on the cheap in the hopes that they can hit big and then bring in more money to finance the future of Warner Brothers. And that's the idea. everything's a gamble, but it's all they can do. And so that's what James Gunn is tasked with. And he's in the position, albeit I would say through no fault of his own, but he's in that position to where he's got to climb a Mount Everest-sized hill and make the best damn Superman film possibly ever. Certainly really good, you know, and fun to generate the excitement for this whole thing. A lot of the projects announced I don't think will come to fruition, but if it's enough to get them going, then they have something, and should polish up Warner Brothers enough for a sale, because they pretty much have to sell to somebody going forward. So it's always these circumstances, and I think that goes a long way for Abdil El Arbi and Bilal Fallah, who were the directors of Batgirl. Whatever the negatives of the film, is probably not entirely their fault. It's probably the situation they were in and what they were given and all of that sort of thing. So, but the same is true of James Gunn. He's got to come up with clever ways. And, you know, he's doing a lot of practical effects and what stuff, so it could look good and all that, but it looks very cluttered. And that's got me concerned. And plus, listening to the likes of Tom King and Damon Lindelof, not a good sign. Not a good sign. But anyway, that's how it goes. But in the case of Michael Keaton's approach, this is like, you know, you listen to your elders. It's a business decision. It's the circumstances they were in. Everybody got paid. You showed up. You did your work. You were paid. You're not ripped off or anything. It's just the follow-up and outcome that could have been there. Could, you know, this make Leslie Grace a big star as, you know, Batgirl and that sort of thing? It doesn't sound like it. If the movie was bad overall, then maybe she should count her blessings, and, you know, some other role might do her some good for her career going forward. As for Keaton, they say, yeah, he gave a shrug and said, I'm good. But that's the thing, you know, he's realizing the reality of the situation, and that's where it is. And, you know, it's too bad for people who wanted the movie to be seen and all of that, but those are the circumstances, and Michael Keaton is just telling it like it is. So saying he doesn't care or anything, he says, yeah, I feel bad, you know, for the others who really wanted this to be seen and all that, and given a chance. And so he understands that. And but, you know, it is what it is. And furthermore, you could make a case where it wasn't necessarily entirely the fault of the people involved with the film itself. It is these circumstances, which continues to dog the likes of Warner Brothers, even though even Zaslav could say, hey, this isn't all my fault. I mean, I came into this, and yeah, but eventually got to deliver. And knocking on the DCU, it's still premature. There are troubling things I see about it, but who knows? Maybe Gunn can pull it off, and if he does, well, now you got something. Still, Warner Brothers is in a lot of trouble, but if you can put some shine on it, you know, polish it, then perhaps a buyer could swoop in and save the whole ordeal. And as far as superhero fatigue being a major negative, well, Deadpool and Wolverine dispelled that. If you do a movie that's a superhero movie, but it's good and people like it, they will show up and pay for it. So superhero fatigue has just become an ongoing excuse for really crappy movies. Whether they were superheroes or not, a crappy movie is a crappy movie. And people can smell the crap. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Might not want to do that. Anyway, there you go. That's my thoughts on the Michael Keaton commentary on the scrapping of the Batgirl movie.